Afterwards, you're welcome to go into a fellowship after, like, get yourself snacks, get coffee, and I think people come back later to meet and ask the questions.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign. My name is Reverend Beth Monholland, and I have the honor of serving as the lead minister here at this congregation, where our mission is to build community, seek inspiration, inspire justice, and find peace. Here in our building on Green Street, we reside on the ancestral lands of many nations that hunted and traveled and called this land home. Notably, the Confederation of Illinois tribes who lived here before white settlers included the Peoria, Cahokia, Kaskaskia, and Michigamme. These people and others who followed them are still striving for sovereignty and dignity today. And while we know that a land acknowledgement is neither reparations nor relationship, we do believe it is part of the process to building those things. And so as we grapple with the realities of our history with honesty and care, we know that doing so calls us into deeper spiritual alignment. No matter our ancestors, we collectively honor all those who came before us and who have made this moment possible. I want to welcome all of us, both in person and virtually, fully into this space today. You may have noticed, for those who come regularly to Sunday morning services, that our TVs are not working. They're working. We're just having some technical challenges this week that we are working to fix. So bear with us if you're here in the room. We won't have those as visual cues for you, but for everybody online, we are glad that we can still welcome you into the live stream. I also want to welcome any guests who are joining us today, and especially want to welcome some special visitors. We have the junior high youth group from the Church of Bloomington, the UU Church of Bloomington, are with us. Sorry to embarrass you, They are here as part of their own faith exploration, and so please be kind to them. Don't embarrass them any more than I already did. But welcome them and their adults who are with them today. This is, as you may know, an intergenerational all-ages services this morning, which means that our children and youth will stay here in the sanctuary for the whole service. The nursery is available for anyone who has a little one 3 years and younger. And as always, we will make space for all of the wiggles that any of us might need, the noises that we might need to make. We make everybody welcome. And we also know that sometimes, for all kinds of reasons, you might need a little more space for your body, whether you are 4 or 104. And you are always welcome to go into our fellowship hall, where we do have an audio feed of the service. We also ask that folks join us for a fellowship hour in the fellowship hall immediately following the service. And during that time, and as you interact with folks today, please be sure that you honor people's boundaries. If someone is wearing a green lanyard, ask them if you can hug them, because the green means they might be open to that. But if anyone is wearing a yellow or a red lanyard, that means they would just be grateful if you would keep your distance respectfully. So with all of that, let's take a deep breath. And we will begin our service officially, as Unitarian Universalists across the country do, by lighting our chalice, which is one symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith tradition, and it reminds us that the spark of life embodied in that flame is actually embodied in each of us. This morning, we've asked Penny Beckett to come forward and say our chalice words, and Will, one of our visitors from Bloomington, is going to light the chalice.
Hi. We kindle this flame as a symbolic connection to our ancestors who bravely shared their life in days past. To all of our kin, near and far, who hold on tightly to hope in this moment. And to the people who follow us in love, in in the moments yet to come.
Feel free to rise in body or in spirit as we sing hymn number 121, We'll Build a Land. A couple of notes. Rather than using sisters and brothers on the second page of this hymn, we'll use people together. And another note is, Juan is at site transposing this for me to sing more comfortably. So if there are any fun mistakes or, improvisations, it's okay. We'll give it space. We'll build a land where we bind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves the mourning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come, build a land where people together, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land where we bring the good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them garlands instead of ashes. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come, build a land where people together, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll be a land building of ancient cities, raising up devastations from old, restoring ruins of generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people so bold. Come, build a land where people together, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come, build a land where the mantles of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak, where like oaks of righteousness stand her people. Oh, come, build the land, my people we seek. Come, build a land where people together, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream.
Yeah, why?
That was fabulous. Thank you. And thank all of you. That song for me felt really fitting as we kick off the month of October. And our theme this month in the Soul Matters theme circles that I'll be exploring. Many of you across the country are exploring this. The theme is heritage. And so I wanted us to think about that. And that song for me, hearkening to those who have come before us and the land that they were trying to build, that we have inherited, and that we are trying to build, the beloved community we long for. Oh, my people, we can make it real. But as we explore heritage, I wanted us to think about a word that often gets associated with heritage. When we are exploring our heritage, people often say we are exploring our roots. And so if there's any young people who would want to come up and be up here with me as we talk about roots, you are welcome to do so. You don't have to do anything, but you can talk to me. And I do have a gift for you in this bag. That may or may not be connected to roots. You'll just have to decide and figure it out. Come on up. Yeah! Look at the people coming on. Bienvenidos, mi gente. Amelia's nice to see you. I know Amelia's name and Will's name. Hello, everyone. All right, come on up. These are the people so bold that we don't need the world to them. So we need to make it a good world. All right, everyone up here, thank you all for coming. So I have a bag. It does have some stuff in it. This may or may not be a clue. Let me ask you, do you all know what are some things that have roots? Roots need water. This is what Franny said. Go ahead. Many trees, not all trees have roots. Plants in general. That's really good. All right, Amelia? Everybody, Amelia says that, well, people and animals and every living thing in the whole world really has roots. Do you feel like, can I ask you, where are your roots, everybody? Like, you've seen the roots of a tree. Like, are your roots in your feet? Are they in your hands? Where are your roots? Go ahead, Mabel.
They're basically kind of your veins or like your heart.
Your veins in your heart can be your roots. Oh, Miss Mabel. Okay, this is a good segue. Because that is both literally and metaphorically true. Do you know what I mean by metaphorically true? I mean, like, it means that it's true. You can actually see your veins in your heart. But also our hearts, our spirits, have roots that connect us to the people who come before us. So, here's why roots are important. All right, Fanny, would you like to get something out of this bag? Yeah. What do you think it is? A carrot. Anybody else want one? All right, that's not enough for everybody, I'm sad to say. I was not expecting this mad rush. All right. Thank you. Can you show us for a moment? So here's the thing about roots. Let me ask you all. Thank you. So this is a carrot. These are multicolored carrots. Some of them are orange, yellow, purple. They can be different colors. So how many of you have eaten a carrot before? Or a turnip? Or rutabaga, I love all those things. So do you know that this part of the carrot is actually the root? Amelia knew that. So this is actually the root. The part of, so that's why we call carrots and things like it root vegetables. Because the root is actually the part that sustains us. Do you know what I mean by that? It's the food part that we need. So it's pretty amazing that it grows underground, and roots like with the trees, you mentioned trees earlier, help everything that grows above it to grow big and strong. And honestly, on days when you pull it out of the ground and it's a little floppy, it feels a little weary, the root still connects it to something stronger. And that's what Mabel said, our veins in our hearts, our metaphorical roots will do for all of us.
You can actually see your veins.
And Mabel says you can see your veins in your hands. It's true. Everybody look at your veins later. Or now. So can we give that back to you? Caregivers of these people who claim to find us, you don't have carrots, stick up later. You're welcome. Thank you all very much. Sorry I didn't have carrots for everybody. Next time I'll remember to get more. I did wash them roughly, so. You might want to wash it some more. But thank you all for coming up. You're welcome to go back to your seats. If you don't want to keep it, you can give it back to me. You won't get carrots out of that. Thank you, everybody. And thank you all you young humans for coming up here and playing with carrots for me. I'm thinking about what grounds us and roots us. With that said, hold on to that, everybody. We'll circle back to it. But I want us to think about community. This is our time where we honor the fact that our mission here, part of it, is to build community. And we have, as those of you who are longtime members know, many spiritually enriching and socially engaging programs. And there are opportunities, oh Lord, in September it felt like every day, and in October, we're continuing that to connect. Your order of service has many announcements for you. I encourage you to read that. There are a few things I do want to highlight for you this morning, though. This afternoon is our crop walk, which is an opportunity to fundraise and serve those with food insecurity and the needy among us. We have been participating in crop walk for, somebody told me how many years, and I don't know, but it's been a long time. And so I encourage you, if you have no plans, change them and make some. Think of participating in crop walk today. So that's this afternoon. Coming up this week, there are some very important things that I want you to know about. No, maybe back up first. I actually want to thank everybody who participated in yesterday's Pride Fest parade, and Ruth, and everybody here. For those of you from Bloomington, it was Pride Fest here in Urbana-Champaign yesterday, and it was wonderful. It was my first Pride here, and those who were here last week, you know how long I've been participating in Pride Fest, so it was kind of a homecoming to a new place. But thank you, everyone who made that possible and made it such a beautiful success. On that same note, next week, a week from today, the United Pride Organization, Nicole Friedman, who's the executive director, is actually hosting a really valuable workshop that's open to the whole congregation next Sunday from 3 to 5. I hope that you all register. It's an opportunity for us to deepen our understanding of and commitment to the thriving of our LGBTQIA community members. You'll find more information about that in the order of service and on our website. And I'm trying to think what else I wanted to tell you, because there were things, I wrote things down and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make it audible. It's all right. The next weekend is jam-packed with stuff, so that's on Sunday. On Friday, we are having our very first Friday quiz night, so if you like trivia, we are going to start hosting that on Friday nights. That's open to everybody, so invite a friend. That's a fun way to introduce them to how awesome and fun UUs are. On Saturday, our Council of Shared Leadership is having their leadership retreat, and there is also popcorn theology. You could just move in and live here next weekend. I know, probably don't, but you could. So check our weekly e-news for more details about those opportunities and details about the ones I mentioned. I'd now like to invite, as we shift into thinking about the community beyond our walls, Pat McClard, to come up and talk with us about our shared offering process. So Pat probably will not be my step stool.
Morning, everyone. We have a date for this year's shared offering nomination process. That would be November 12th, Sunday, November 12th. And I want to invite everyone to please think about submitting an organization that you think is deserving and aligned with our values. By tradition, we do not have the same organization for 2 years in a row. So in this week's e-news, there'll be an announcement with the date, possibly with a link to the website, depending on how ambitious I get this afternoon. And if not, it'll be there for next week. Excuse me. I just want to remind everyone, excuse me, shared offering is, I think, the biggest financial commitment that we make to the community. Last year, we donated over $27,000 to organizations within the community, and that's a big chunk of money. And would love to see more nominations this year, and I appreciate everyone's generosity. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat, and thank you everyone in this congregation for your commitment, not just to the work we do here within these walls, but to the ways in which we live that values when we leave this building. The mission of this congregation is sustained by the generosity of its members, by the generosity of your talent and your time, and yes, of your financial resources. Pat already mentioned our shared offering, and we do donate portions of all non-designated funds collected on Sundays to a community partner. That changes each month, and since it's October 1st, I want you to know that the organization who will be our partner this month is the Survivors Resource Center, which is the sole agency dedicated to serving the needs of survivors of sexual violence in Vermilion, Edgar, and Clark counties. They provide counseling services, court advocacy, medical advocacy, and they operate a 24-hour sexual violence hotline. We are honored to get to partner with them and to contribute to their mission. Their work literally saves lives, and our generosity contributes to that. So for all of the ways that you support this congregation, we offer thanks. And with gratitude and appreciation, the offering will now be gratefully received. practiced the spiritual value of generosity, we now want to enter a time of practicing spiritual generosity. Each week we make time to honor the joys and sorrows that all of us are bringing into this space, trusting that when we share our sorrows, the weight of them is lessened, and when we share our joys, they become more abundant. If you have a joy, a celebration you want to have honored this morning, if you have a sorrow, a grief, or a hurt you would like to lay down, we invite you to email that if you would like to joysandsorrows@uuc.org. Did I say that right? UC, thank you, everybody. We also have cards that the ushers are passing if you would like to write one down. We do not have to say it out loud, everybody, but if you would like to simply share it, it will be brought to us. And I would also like us to engage in the embodied practice of coming forward. We have a bowl of water here, we have pebbles, and we have petals. If you would like to drop a pebble into the water to release your sorrow, a petal into the water to lift up your joy, you are welcome to do so while we play our music and give folks time to write down what they might want to write down. Our blessing song is May the Long Time Sun. We usually only have the words for it on these screens. We don't have them anywhere else. Juan's going to play the music for us though, and if you know the words by heart, you're welcome to sing them. You can also just enjoy the music and be in this space together. We have a joy from Mabel. I am happy and I'm having a good day. Thank you, Mabel. I'll hold on to that one. A sorrow for grief of those we loved who are gone, whether it's deceased or gone away because of mental illness, and we don't know where they are. From Adelaide, young relatives whose wedding has been derailed by cancer. A sorrow from Priscilla, a good friend of ours and our son's mother-in-law, died Friday night of metastatic breast cancer. She was my role model for how to face this disease with positivity and grace. She'll be greatly missed by family and friends. And we have some joys to share from those online as well. This is from Julie Louds, who says, what a joy to spend Mark's 50th birthday with his brother and my sister-in-law last weekend. Mark and I have also had many opportunities to see our Milwaukee family. Shout out to Wisconsin. Her words. And we have word that my parents' new home in Urbana is framed up. For all the years that circumstances kept us away from family, we are that much more grateful to be together now. And a joy for the pride, this is from Sam. Joy for the pride and joyful self-expression of the many people in the parade and at the fest yesterday, and continuing that from Jerry. It was a joyful day for all of us that participated in the Pride Fest fair booths and the parade. Whether with UCUC or many other worthy social justice initiative groups, a huge thanks to those that helped in any way. And from Amita, joy to the march in the Pride Parade with the beloved fellow UUs yesterday, and much gratitude for all who set up and staffed the UCUC booth for Pride Fest. Beloveds, for all of these joys and all of these sorrows, the space we make together for them is sacred. And I ask that you hold for a moment of silence all that was spoken and all that each of us are carrying in our hearts. And now we will sing Comfort Me as our final blessing for this time together.
Reading by Francis Ellen Watkins Harper, who you will hear much more very soon, and a very powerful fearless Black woman born before the Civil War and lived sometime after, a very influential writer and activist for abolition and related causes. This is a poem entitled Songs for the People. Let me make the songs for the people, songs for the old and young, songs to stir like a battle cry wherever they are sung. Not for the clashing of sabers, for carnage nor for strife, but songs to thrill the hearts of men with more abundant life. Let me make the songs for the weary amid life's fever and fret, till hearts shall relax their tension and careworn brows forget. Let me sing for the little children before their footsteps stray, sweet anthems of love and duty to float o'er life's highway. I would sing for the poor and aged when shadows dim their sight of the bright and restful mansions where there shall be no night. Our world so worn and weary needs music pure and strong to hush the jangle and discord of sorrow, pain, and wrong. Music to soothe all its sorrow till war and crime shall cease, and the hearts of men grown tender girdle the world with peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks to everyone who was at Pride Fest. I already said that. And we got to hear some joys shared by members of the congregation. That it was wonderful to get to march and not parade in this community. It was wonderful to see all of the variety and diversity of ages and ethnicities and races and bodies. To know that we can come together across and through difference to love one another and to build community together. That is why I'm a Unitarian Universalist, and I know that as a Unitarian Universalist, I am not alone in trying to do that, and that was also why yesterday was so amazing. That Sally and I both gave some glitter blessings at our booth. Sally and me, thank you for holding down the fort and being there all day. And I've done glitter blessings at Pride Fest before, and every time there's at least one person whose eyes fill up with tears and who says, "Thank you. I didn't know there could be a church that welcomed me." What we do matters because the world is hurting, and there is so much pain and fear that can challenge us. It can challenge our ability to see and recognize the beauty. It can challenge our ability to embrace hope. It is too easy to get cynical and to get weighed down by despair. I am guilty of it. Looking at, I don't know y'all, let's name a few of it, how pervasive gun violence is, the increasing and more threatening attacks on trans lives in this country, the wealth divide and the exploitation of workers, which is the worst that it has been in a century. And that's just here, right? The war in Ukraine is ongoing. There are coups and wars happening on nearly every continent. And that's not even to get to the climate disaster that threatens the entire planet. It is hard to not despair. And it is understandable that we who wish to make the world more just are sometimes left floundering, wondering what to do. What can we do in the face of all of that? We can feel powerless. And when I start to feel those creeping edges of despair, when I start to think that nothing I do will ever matter, I know that I need my spiritual practices. I need my spiritual communities. And it is also really helpful to claim my spiritual ancestors, to dig into those roots that feed me, that feed all of you. Because as Reverend Theodore Parker once said, the arc of the universe does bend towards justice, but it only bends that way because we are the fulcrum that bends it. And we have ancestors who have fought these same battles, and we can look to them. African-American writer Ralph Ellison once wrote that some people are your relatives, that others are your ancestors, and you choose the ones you want to have as ancestors, and you create yourself out of those values. We can create ourselves out of the values of our ancestors who rooted enough to show us a way out of despair. And I want to acknowledge that sometimes when we look backwards, it can all seem so inevitable. People get turned into literal gods, don't they? Larger than life. And that can actually lead to our despair. I could never be as great as that great hero from the past. They were larger than life. But I would like to remind us that we ordinary people are the ones that make change. That all of our past heroes were also ordinary people doing what they could with what they had. Jesus was not Jesus in the first century. Muhammad wasn't the greatest prophet of all time until after his death. The man who we later called Buddha was merely called by the world suffering to examine it and to do what he could. And later, others said, look how amazing and larger than life he was. And we don't just do that to our religious figures, we do it to our modern day heroes as well. We look at their lives and say, oh, they were untouchable. But the fact is, Jesus got tired. The Bible tells us Jesus wept. Our heroes, whether they are religious or political or social, made mistakes. They were flawed. They messed up a lot. And they persisted despite those mistakes. And you all, here's the key part, they persisted despite the uncertain outcomes of the path they were on. Martin Luther King Jr. did not know in 1960 that a civil rights legislation would actually get passed. Rosa Parks didn't know that when she first joined the NAACP and started as a field secretary 20 years before she ever took that stand in Birmingham. We do not know until afterwards what our outcomes will be, but if we root in our values, if we find the ancestors that have had enough faith, we too can trust that the despair of this moment is fleeting. We do not have to give in to it. And so I want us to look at Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. How many of you, by show of hands in this room, and if you're on the chat, go ahead and shout it out there too, actually have heard the name Frances Ellen Watkins Harper? More than I thought. Okay, Sally's a cheater. She's my plan. But a few in have. So a few of you know who she was, and Paul reference, Frances Ellen Watkins Harper is one of my chosen Unitarian ancestors. She put her whole life and her natural talents and gifts to use in the causes she believed in. She built a community across and through difference. She spoke truth to power at every opportunity, explicitly naming wrongs that needed to be addressed in her communities, and she grounded all of that work in her faith, in her values, using her gifts, building community, addressing harms, demanding justice, grounding it in faith. That is the roadmap she provided for us. What she did was extraordinary, and we should look at and honor it. But sometimes, as Reverend Scott Taylor said, history becomes a trap where we look at only at what that specific person did, instead of looking at how the values they evoke call us to do now. And what Frances Ellen Watkins Harper's life is calling us to do now in 2023 is to live the kinds of values she did. Root in our faith, build community, demand justice. It sounds a little like our mission. She was born in 1825 to a free black family in Baltimore, Maryland. She was a poet, a writer, an orator, lecturer, mother, abolitionist, suffragist, temperance activist. You all, if there was a social justice cause in the 19th century, Frances Ellen Watkins Harper was part of it in some way. She embodied many identities in her life, and she wove her religious beliefs and a discerning analysis of both scripture and culture into demands for equal rights of African Americans and women. She demanded better conditions for children and the poor, and she called America to task to live up to its ideals, to be the society that takes care of the downtrodden and dehumanized instead of the society that causes those things. She used her words to highlight injustice and pain that is both systemic and personal. And she called for those in power not to look away from the suffering that they had caused, to take responsibility to address it. And we here today have inherited from her a body of work that spans nearly 6 decades. She was active in the entire latter half of the 19th century in her letters, her speeches, her short stories. She was, by the way, as far as we know, the first African American woman to publish a short story in America. Her short stories, her novels, everything she wrote is a testament to her passion, to her intellect. We can see it from her very earliest work. She published her first volume of poetry when she was 20. 20. When at 13, she had to go into service. She went into service with a Quaker family who made sure she had full access to their giant library. And she read voraciously. She imagined a different world than the one she was born into. She was what I would call today an intersectional writer and thinker and activist. She was living and embodying intersectionality 100 years before that concept was ever even named. And while misogyny and white supremacy attempted to bury her work for years, she was one of the most widely read people in the 19th century, and almost nobody in this room knew her name. That was on purpose, everybody. That was on purpose. So while her work was buried, her commitment to being a sister to the entire human race, as she once wrote, shines like a beacon out of that work to us today. And for modern-day Unitarian Universalists who want to address all the issues I named earlier, all the issues we carry around with us with fear and despair, I want this sermon and her example to be the thing that can help us root into the resilience and persistence that she embodied. She knew firsthand how dehumanizing our society is. I think sometimes when we here in the 21st century, with all the harms that we truly need to address, start to feel like the world is the worst it's ever been, I think maybe Frances Ellen Watkins Harper might have something to say to us about that. And I'm not interested in getting into an oppression Olympics and who's suffering more and what time was worse, but I am interested in reminding us that we have ancestors who have lived through turbulent, tumultuous, violent times, and they did it with grace and kindness and love. They did it also with a clear-sightedness that says, you in power are doing the harms. Because she used her talents not just to tell stories that hadn't been told in the popular imagination before, but she used her talents to also look to those who had more power and to say, why are you not in this fight with us? She was an abolitionist, as I said. She worked on the Underground Railroad. She traveled and lectured all the way up until the Civil War. And she also became active in the women's suffrage movement because she was aware, as an African American in this country, how her skin made her a second-class citizen. And she was aware of how her status as a woman made her almost no citizen at all. She could not vote, as women could not. And she saw those oppressions as being interlinked, and so she took up the battle cry of ending slavery and of getting women the right to vote. And she did that often in white spaces with the courage as a black woman, second-class citizen, to look at those white women who had power and say, you need to do better. In 1866, she gave a speech to the National Women's Rights Convention where she said the phrase where this title of today's sermon comes from, we are all bound up together in one great bundle of humanity, and society cannot trample on the weakest and feeblest of its members without receiving the curse in its own soul. We are all bound up in one great bundle of humanity. And we are not all the same in our struggles. Because she went on in that speech to say, you white women here speak of rights, and I speak of wrongs. And she detailed the ongoing struggles of African Americans post-Civil War. She called so many of those women out for not supporting the passage of the 14th Amendment, which granted African American men the right to vote. It became a dividing line in the women's suffrage movement. But she had the courage and the power to say, it's my favorite line from the speech ever, if anyone needs to be lifted out of their selfish and erring nothingness in this country more than white women, I don't know who they are. She spoke truth to power when it was dangerous for her to do so, when there was not much that she could gain from it. And she committed also to interfaith work. She was a member not just of the Unitarian Church in Philadelphia, but also the African Methodist Episcopal Church there. She was committed to both of those faith traditions, to being a bridge between those two faith communities and saying we can work together because we have shared values. And maybe our ideas about God and the ways in which we should live day to day might differ a little, but we believe in that possible world. And as she rooted in her own Christian faith, you all, she also used Scripture beautifully in her poetry and in her writing and in her speeches to say this is why we need freedom. And she fully acknowledged the ways in which Christian scripture in America had been used to justify slavery and justify the subjugation of women. She called it out and said, oh, that's how you interpreted that? Well, let me tell you something else the scriptures say. She reclaimed her faith for liberation. And while I know that we as modern day Unitarian Universalists will sometimes flinch away from Christian passages, from overtly Christian references, because we have experienced the weaponization of that scripture in the same ways that Ellen Watkins Harper and her African American kin did. We know that even holy text can be turned into a weapon against us, and we can reclaim that from those who would do it. We do not have to cede the public square to those who say some of us don't matter. It is why I am so glad that not just Unitarian Universalists, but other faith and other churches were out in the streets yesterday saying, everybody deserves love. We can, as Frances Watkins did, use our gifts, speak truth to power, and reclaim our roots in ways that are liberatory for all of us. That is what our faith today in the 21st century calls us to do. And while we can look at the amazing deeds of Ellen Watkins Harper, and I'm not going to lie, I hope you do. I own everything she's written. If you want some collections of her poetry and her speeches, I have them in my office. I will lend them out to you, my beloveds. But what I want more is for us to look at the roots that she has given to us to be more than this moment, to be what we want to be as a beloved community. In that poem Paul read so beautifully, Songs for the People, my dear ones, she wrote that in the last decade of her life, when she saw Reconstruction get crushed, when she saw the rise of Jim Crow, when she saw the increasing poverty and the divisions of the women's movement. She saw all of that, and she did not give up hope. She still had hope for Songs for the People. And if she in her lifetime can hold on to that, surely we can dig into our roots, into the love in our hearts, and look squarely and honestly as she did at the problems in front of us, and know that is not the only story. Songs for the people, she said. Songs for the weary, songs for the little children, for the poor and the aged. We can sing those songs and girdle the world with peace. We are one great bundle of humanity, and our roots call us to make that bundle whole and thriving and loving and real. May it be so.
Feel free to join me in 1028. I didn't make Juan transpose this one. From the light of days remembered, burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. With a fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze.
It was not my intention. I thought I'd get out early, not ready for thinking. But I would like us, in the spirit of that, to enter for a moment into a spirit of prayer. So, beloved, so you take a deep breath, center into your body, and in whatever posture you need, close your eyes or not. Pray with me. Spirit of life and love, God of our heart's deepest longings, we know that the world's needs are great. We know that it is hard sometimes to look this world in the face and to be honest about the harms we have done, to be honest about the harms that we carry, and to trust that we are enough in ourselves and collectively to make healing and wholeness possible. But Spirit of life, that is what we are called to do. And so move in us today, in the spirit of all of our ancestors who called to us from distant shores that hope and transformation and wholeness are not only possible, they are our birthright. Let us carry that knowledge in our bodies and out into the world today. Amen. And we close by extinguishing our chalice, and we say these words together. We extinguish this flame, but not of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together.
And we